Losing everything felt like the end, but it turned out to be the greatest lesson of my life. This story will make you rethink setbacks and see the hidden opportunities in failure. It's a strange feeling when you realize you have nothing left. No money, no job, no safety net. I was standing in the middle of my empty apartment, looking at the last few boxes of my belongings. My landlord had given me 2 more days to move out before I officially had nowhere to go. A few months ago, my life had been perfect, or so I thought. I had a stable job, a decent paycheck, and an apartment in a nice part of town. I wasn't rich, but I was comfortable. I could afford weekend outings, random Amazon purchases, and a lifestyle that made me feel successful. But then, life happened. First, the company I worked for went bankrupt. Overnight, I lost my job. It's just temporary, I told myself. I'll find something soon, but I didn't. Months passed, and despite endless applications and interviews, nothing worked out. My savings disappeared. My credit card debt piled up. And then, just when I thought it couldn't get worse, my car broke down. The repair costs were more than I could afford. Without a job or a car, my situation spiraled even further. Before I knew it, I was broke, jobless, and out of options. I had always believed that if you worked hard, life would reward you. But standing in that empty apartment, I realized something terrifying. Life doesn't follow a fairy tale script. I felt like a failure. I had done everything right. Studied hard, worked hard, followed the rules. And yet, here I was, packing my things, with no idea where I'd sleep next. I spent that night at an old friend's place, pretending everything was fine. The next day, I swallowed my pride and called my parents, asking if I could stay with them for a while. They agreed, but I could hear the disappointment in their voices. At 29, I had to move back into my childhood bedroom. It was humiliating. For the first few weeks, I did nothing. I stayed in bed for hours, barely ate, and avoided calls from friends. I kept replaying every decision that led me here, searching for what I did wrong. Then, one evening, my dad sat beside me on the porch. He handed me a cup of coffee and said something that stuck with me forever. Maybe losing everything is exactly what you needed. I looked at him confused. How is this a good thing? He sipped his coffee and smiled. Because now you have nothing to lose. And when you have nothing to lose, you can finally start living differently. I didn't fully understand what he meant at that moment, but over the next few weeks, his words started making sense. Losing everything forced me to rethink everything, my choices, my priorities, and my definition of success. With no job, no distractions, and no excuses, I did something I had never done before. I asked myself what I truly wanted in life. Not what society expected. Not what looked good on paper. Not what paid the most money. Just what I actually wanted. And for the first time, I realized something shocking. I never really loved my old job. I had stayed in it because it was safe, not because it made me happy. I had spent years chasing stability instead of fulfillment. So, instead of applying for the same kind of jobs I hated, I decided to take a different path. I had always loved writing, but I had never believed I could make a living from it. Now, I had nothing to lose. So I started small, writing articles online, submitting work to blogs, and even applying for freelance gigs. The money wasn't great at first, but for the first time in years, I felt alive. I wasn't just working for a paycheck. I was creating something. Months passed and something incredible happened. I started getting clients, real ones who paid me to write. One blog loved my work so much they offered me a steady contract. Then another, and another. Within a year, I was making a full-time income doing something I actually enjoyed. And here's the crazy part. If I had never lost everything, I would have never found this path. I would have stayed stuck in a job I hated, chasing a version of success that wasn't meant for me. But losing everything forced me to start over, and starting over gave me a second chance at life. Looking back, I don't regret losing everything. Because the truth is, sometimes life has to break you before it builds you. Sometimes, losing everything is the only way to find out what truly matters. And sometimes, rock bottom is just the beginning of something greater. So if you ever find yourself at your lowest, don't lose hope. It might just be life's way of telling you, you were meant for something better.